Chair of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, James Comer, appeared on Jake Tapper's show State of the Union on CNN. And really interesting interview. I have a few moments from it to walk through with you. Jake Tapper very nicely pushed back against a lot of the dishonest claims that James Comer was espousing. Now, we've heard a lot of reasons for why it's terrible that Alvin Bragg might indict Trump in regard to the Stormy Daniels hush money payment case, and how it's all political persecution and it's all inappropriate. And James Comer is a part of the House Republican group that is planning on investigating Alvin Bragg for his investigation into Trump and him possibly bringing charges against Trump. And so within that context, James Comer is bringing out a new line for what is wrong with the possible indictment of Trump. And it's the fact that it's being done at a local level. It has to be a federal level for it to be appropriate. But you also aren't liking the federal investigations into Trump. Okay, so take a look at this. Here's the beginning of the interview. And then, like I said, we'll walk through a few moments.
The chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman James Comer, Republican of Kentucky. Mr. Chairman, thanks so much for joining us. You just wrote a new letter to Manhattan DA Bragg defending your decision to investigate his office, saying that you're considering taking legislative action to prevent presidents from, quote, politically motivated prosecutions. As of right now, of course, Trump has not been charged with anything. What do you say to Bragg, who says you're trying to stop a charge from happening even before you know of any evidence?
Well, what the DA is trying to say is what you just quoted. He said stay out of local investigations. The problem with that is this is not a local investigation. This is a federal investigation. He's investigating a presidential candidate, not to mention former president.
Okay, those two things have nothing to do with whether or not Alvin Bragg is able to investigate Trump, or they shouldn't.
Of the United States for a federal election crime. That has no business being litigated in a local district attorney's office. And when he says he's not going to cooperate with Congress.
Okay, and then that continues. And Jake Tapper nicely pushes back on his idea that Alvin Bragg shouldn't be able to be involved in this.
Something that clearly, if there was a reason for prosecution, it should be done by the Department of Justice on the federal level.
Well, he's investigating, as I understand it, potential violations of state crimes.
Even at that, look, let's just be honest here. I mean, this is about politics. This is a presidential candidate. When you look at what we believe the role of the Manhattan DA should be, is to fight crime. I mean, that's one of the biggest issues in New York. We saw that in the midterm elections last November. Voters overwhelmingly rejected many.
Is business crime not a crime? Okay, a few things. Number one, as Jake Tapper said, he's being investigated for state crimes. I mean, we don't know what charges will be brought, so we can't know. And that brings me to my second point, which is they can't know either. James Comer can't know. All the individuals saying this is political persecution can't know, because we don't know what evidence is going to be brought. We don't even know what charges necessarily would be brought. And third, he keeps repeating former president, active presidential candidate. So just admit it. You think people should be above the law if they're a presidential candidate or a former president. That's what you're saying. But you don't actually believe that, because if Biden, as y'all call for all the time, maybe not James Comer specifically, no, he calls the Biden crime family, got arrested today, y'all would celebrate. You don't actually have an issue with someone who's about to be a presidential candidate likely and a current president being prosecuted quickly. The confusion that he's trying to derive this talking point from has to do with the fact that it seems, and this is just gathering information based on reporting, because again, we don't know necessarily what charges will be brought, but it seems to be the case that falsifying business records is kind of at the core of this investigation, what Trump would be charged with. But to bring that, to escalate that to a felony, the falsifying of business records would have to be in the pursuit of covering up another crime, which would be the election finance-related crime. And so James Comer is just trying to confuse enough his followers to think, okay, Trump is just being wronged here. He's he's the real victim. Next moment.
We have prosecutors that are soft on crime, and we believe that our tax dollars, and that's where I come in with the House Oversight Committee, we believe tax dollars would be better spent prosecuting local criminals. That's what a DA is supposed to do.
Are you arguing that people who commit business crimes are not committing crimes?
Look, well, is this a business crime? We're talking about a federal election crime here, Jake. This is
You are celebrating your own ignorance about the situation.
a federal election crime. The Manhattan DA does not write federal election laws.
My understanding is that he's being investigated for falsifying business records. There was a related prosecution. Michael Cohen went to prison. That was a federal investigation from the U.S. attorney during the Trump years. But that U.S. attorney, Mr. Berman, prosecuted. And Mr. Kuzami prosecuted Michael Cohen. He went to prison for that as well as related crimes. I don't remember hearing anything from you during that period. I guess he wasn't a candidate, but he had been working for Donald Trump.
That was a U.S. attorney that prosecuted.
Right.
We're talking about a local attorney. And look, if you open a can of worms here, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have county attorneys in red areas, in parts of Kentucky, rural Kentucky, where I am, that are going to start trying to overreach into.
Oh my gosh. If someone within their jurisdiction has possibly committed a crime and there's evidence for it, yes, they can investigate. This is just a disaster for James Comer. I wish his not his viewers, but I wish his kind of supporters would recognize how terribly he's even doing the dishonest talking points. He just keeps repeating the same thing over and over, and Jake Tapper's explaining to him why it's not accurate. And then we get to this moment.
He hasn't, you keep asserting what this investigation is, and we haven't seen an indictment, we haven't seen charges, we haven't seen evidence. What if District Attorney Bragg comes forward with an indictment, with evidence, and proof that Donald Trump did commit these crimes? You still think he shouldn't be charged?
Well, we believe that he should come explain to us exactly what he's investigating, because at the end of the day, this is a presidential candidate. This is the...
oh my gosh, I can't take that anymore. We should have one more moment to get through, but I get that he's a presidential candidate, so you now have to explain why you think it's better for the country for presidential candidates to be above the law, because that's what you're saying. Final moment.
Again, this is a local investigation. It's not a sincere argument to say it's a local investigation when you're investigating a presidential candidate and the former president of the United States. Again, we believe that this should be done on the federal level. We don't believe this is a good use of tax dollars. And if
I know this is oversimplified, but not really. If Trump walked in New York City to a store and robbed some stuff, would you say only federal authorities should get involved in that, even though that would be something locally that would be dealt with? It's such a strange talking point.
If Mr. Bragg wants to come in and explain to us what he's doing, and he makes a good explanation, he makes a good argument, and we see that we're in an area where we shouldn't belong, such as some of the Republican senators say, then we'll back off. But we're...
Okay. Jake Tapper's face just about sums it up. So, yeah, at the end of the day, all this whittles down to is you don't believe that a presidential candidate, former president, should be able to be held accountable for possible violations of the law. But also, you only apply that to Trump and probably any other Republican that you're fond of. If Biden was prosecuted tomorrow, or was indicted tomorrow, I should say, you would be pumped. You would have no problem. There would be no House Oversight committee hearings or investigations into it. And he doesn't even try that hard to push for his own talking points. It was made clear to his face why he was being dishonest, and he just kept repeating it over and over. Very wild stuff. make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get the extra bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. Link in the description.